British comedy goes way beyond Monty Python. Today, I'm showing you 10 British period sitcoms that most Americans have never seen, from Victorian shops full of secrets to Jane Austen parodies. Let's see which one is actually worth tracking down. Let's start with the most Dickensian thing outside of Dickens, the bleak old shop of stuff. The whole show is basically a love letter to Charles Dickens' novels, but every single trope is turned on its head. Set in a surreal version of Victorian London, it follows Jedrington's secret past, a shopkeeper whose store sells nothing but bizarre odds and ends. He gets thrown in debtor's prison by the villainous Malefax skulking worm, a cameo from Stephen Fry that's as ridiculous as you'd hope. That sets off a chain of melodramatic twists. Long-lost relatives, ghostly benefactors, and a parade of characters with names like Maggotty and Hard Thrasher. Robert Webb is the upright but hapless Jedrington. Catherine Parkinson is his endlessly patient wife Conceptiva, and the guest star roster is wild. Stephen Fry, David Mitchell, Johnny Vegas, all chewing scenery in weird costumes. There's a Christmas special, then 3 more episodes, all filmed on lush Victorian sets that look straight out of a BBC drama. Upstart Crow takes all those high school memories of Shakespeare and just rips them up. It's a sitcom about Will Shakespeare as a regular guy in the 1590s, dealing with actors who won't listen, an overbearing family, endless commutes between Stratford and London. Every episode, Will is trying to finish a play, and whatever goes wrong for him that week ends up as a plot in one of his famous works. There's meta jokes everywhere. Characters drop lines from Shakespeare plays, and Will keeps dismissing good ideas as too ridiculous for the stage, which you know is exactly what he's about to make famous. The show is written by Ben Elton, British comedian behind Rowan Atkinson's Blackadder, so the wordplay is sharp, but it's not stuffy. They set the whole thing on big Tudor sets, shot like a traditional studio comedy, but packed with inside jokes about the theater, family drama, and the nightmare of traveling by horse-drawn coach every day. 3 series, a bunch of Christmas specials, even a pandemic episode. You don't have to be a Shakespeare fan to get it, but if you are, there's a lot to love. Forget Robin Hood. In Maid Marian and Her Merry Men, she's the real brains of the operation, and Robin's just a clueless city guy who accidentally gets all the credit. The show's set in medieval England, but the vibe is total chaos. Marian is mud-splattered, tough, always outsmarting the Sheriff of Nottingham and King John, while her merry men are mostly useless. There's musical numbers, running gags, modern references, and constant fourth wall breaks. One episode even parodies the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves theme. Kate Lonergan makes Marian the hero Robin Hood movies never give her a chance to be, while Adam Morris's Robin is too busy worrying about his wardrobe to help anyone. Tony Robinson, who made Blackadder, brings that same layered humor, anachronisms, clever jokes, and a cast who look like they're having the time of their lives. Haggard drops you into 1770s England with Squire Amos Haggard. He's a guy who's broke but refuses to admit it, dragging his lovesick son and their servant through one scheme after another. Amos is always plotting. Marry into money, gamble his way to the top, scam anyone who stands still long enough. Of course, every plan goes sideways, usually because his son Roderick can't stop falling for the wrong person, or their servant Grunge finds a way to sabotage things. Sometimes accidentally, sometimes not. Keith Barron plays Amos as the ultimate roguish squire, used to hanging out with princes, now stuck scraping by. Rhys Dinsdale is the hopelessly naive Roderick, and Sam Kelly as Grunge is quietly the smartest, richest guy in the house, just waiting for the others to self-destruct. It's got that Blackadder energy, fast, irreverent, with class jokes and sly asides straight to camera. It's a shame it's not as famous as it should be. Let Them Eat Cake is just pure, unfiltered French aristocratic chaos on the eve of the Revolution. Jennifer Saunders plays the Comtesse de Vache, the most reviled woman at Versailles, obsessed with scandal and blackmail. Dawn French is her maid Lisette, sharper than everyone around her, always ready with an insult. The show is a parade of wigs, silk, and backstabbing. Plots center around one-upping rivals, dodging the queen's wrath, and keeping up appearances while the whole country's about to explode. It's packed with dirty jokes, poisonings, and ridiculous disguises. Even Marie Antoinette herself shows up just to gossip. 6 episodes all set on lavish sets that manage to look decadent and completely over the top at the same time. This is French and Saunders as actors, not writers, so the humor is darker, meaner, and more risque than their earlier stuff. Blandings is one of those shows that feels like it should work right out of the gate. You've got Timothy Spall as Lord Emsworth, Jennifer Saunders as his bossy sister Connie, and Jack Farthing as Freddie, his empty-headed son who's always getting into trouble. The whole thing's set in 1929 at Blandings Castle, and if it were up to Emsworth, he'd just hang out with his prize pig and avoid all the family drama. No chance of that. Every episode is basically Spall trying to escape Connie's grip, fend off a parade of houseguests, nieces, their boyfriends, and whatever other nonsense lands at the castle. Mark Williams shows up as Beach the butler. He's nothing like the stately guy from the Wodehouse novels, but he brings something else that works surprisingly well. Early episodes struggle, but the cast grows into their roles, and by the end, there's real warmth to it. Jack Farthing is especially good as the useless Freddie. Sometimes you want to slap him, sometimes you almost root for him. Crom Castle in Northern Ireland stands in for the family seat, and the whole thing looks legit. Adapting Wodehouse is tough, but this one gets better if you stick with it. Hunderby is a pitch-black Gothic comedy set in a remote English village in the 1830s. Julia Davis is behind this one, and it pays a sort of a twisted homage to the world of Jane Eyre and the Bronte sisters. The story opens with a shipwreck. Helene washes up on the shore, gets scooped up by Edmund, the local pastor, and before you know it, she's married and moving into his creepy manor. Problem is, she's got a past she needs to hide, and the real villain isn't Edmund, but Dorothy, the housekeeper, who is absolutely obsessed with Edmund and his dead first wife. Dorothy spends every episode plotting, scheming, and generally trying to ruin Helene's life in some of the filthiest, most jaw-dropping ways you'll ever see in a period show. There's blackmail, poisonings, secrets, and just when you think it can't get any weirder, a handsome doctor stirs up a love triangle. Hunderby nails the Victorian look so well, it actually won a BAFTA Craft Award. But underneath, it's all savage satire, with humor so dark and so filthy, The Guardian called it the filthiest filth, but also top-quality filth. The first season is 8 half-hour episodes, and after a break, it came back for 2-hour-long specials to wrap up the story. The Legend of Dick and Dom goes full slapstick fantasy. You get 2 idiot princes, Dick and Dom, on a quest to fix the plague they accidentally unleashed on their own kingdom, Firedoor. The only way to save the day is to track down ingredients for a magical antidote. That means every episode is a new hunt for dragon toenails, giant burps, and other weird stuff. It's pure mayhem. Gross-out jokes, pratfalls, dick and drag, exploding potions. What actually makes this show great is the way it throws in Lord of the Rings parodies, bits of Monty Python, and all the classic quest tropes, but then just totally wrecks them for a laugh. The narration comes from Monty Python's Terry Jones, which adds this deadpan storybook feel over all the chaos. Plus, every episode is packed with familiar faces from British comedy. Tony Blackburn, Brian Blessed, all making cameos. It was shot in a mix of real UK locations and cheesy studio sets, so it looks like fantasy, but never takes itself seriously for a second. If you grew up in the UK, you probably know this one, but in America, it went completely unnoticed. Up the Women keeps things closer to home. 1910 Oxfordshire, to be exact. It's a gentle, character-driven comedy about a group of ladies who meet in the local church hall to gossip, knit, and thanks to one fired-up member, accidentally start their own suffrage movement. Jessica Hines plays Margaret, just back from London and full of ideas about women's rights. She drags the Banbury intricate craft circle into the fight for votes, and chaos follows. Every meeting turns into a farce. You've got the club president who hates the idea of change and does everything she can to slow things down, and a whole supporting cast of well-meaning but clueless allies. Most of the show plays out in the church hall, filmed on a classic BBC three-wall set with a live audience. The vibe is cozy, like watching a stage play with sharp, understated jokes about how hard it actually is to organize anything. The show nails the look. High collars, long skirts, the whole 1910 village vibe. This one goes back to the late 1920s, turning the British class system into one long running joke. This is the upstairs, downstairs formula done as a big, ambitious sitcom. You've got the Meldrum family, rich, eccentric, and basically useless, living upstairs, while the servants downstairs do all the work, cover up the family's messes, and occasionally steal whatever they can get away with. Every episode is a tangle of love affairs, secrets, and the butler, Alf Stokes, coming up with new ways to game the system. Plots get room to breathe. Episodes run almost an hour. The cast is huge, and the mansion set looks straight out of 1927. You've got the boot boy who keeps accidentally spouting communist slogans, a matriarch who treats the house like a petting zoo, and endless upstairs-downstairs drama. The writing leans hard into the soap opera vibe, but always twists it for a laugh. It ran for 4 series, 26 episodes, and it was all shot in front of a live audience, which gives it that big old-school sitcom energy.